At least 8 Palestinians have been killed and 61 others injured in fresh Israeli attacks across the Gaza Strip in the past 24 hours, according to Gaza's health ministry. These attacks come even as critical ceasefire talks have been ongoing for 3 days in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, raising hopes for a halt to the violence. After more than 2 years of devastating conflict, Palestinians in Gaza are hoping the latest round of negotiations will finally bring relief.
I am one of the people who ended up looking in the trash to eat bread. I mean, I am not an employee, so I come from far away, about 2 kilometers, so I can take this meal. God willing, He will grant us good people, so we can solve this crisis, the war, and go back to living a good life. We don't have money, and look at our clothes and our situation. Our house is gone, my children are gone, and my wife is gone. There are probably thousands like me in this tragedy. We were already suffering before the increase in the number of displaced people from the north. Now we are suffering twice as much. Everything regarding the food preparation has suffering, starting with the fire, getting wood for fire, water, providing food, and diversifying food. There are no options to diversify for people.
The United Nations warns that approximately $52 billion will be needed to rebuild Gaza. Jorge Moreira da Silva, director of the UN Office for Project Services, said 80% of Gaza's infrastructure has been destroyed, and clearing rubble remains an urgent priority before reconstruction can begin. Former Israeli diplomat Alon Pincus says Prime Minister Netanyahu has little interest in advancing the Trump peace plan, focusing instead on political survival. Pincus suggests Netanyahu sees the release of Israeli captives as a short-term win while continuing the conflict to preserve his coalition. Public attention is almost exclusively focused on the captives, with little discussion about Gaza's future governance or potential Israeli withdrawal, he said. Meanwhile, Gaza City continues to face relentless attacks. Residential areas in central, northwestern, and southern parts of the city are being systematically destroyed, leaving civilians trapped in shrinking safe zones. Just in the past 24 hours, explosions have rocked neighborhoods once vibrant with homes and businesses, underscoring the severe human toll of the conflict. Dozens of armed Israeli settlers stormed the Old City and Ibrahimi Mosque in Hebron under the protection of Israeli forces, while clashes erupted in Burin, south of Nablus. Palestinian youths confronted the soldiers, with live ammunition reportedly fired at residents and their property, highlighting escalating tensions across the occupied West Bank. Top envoys from the US, Qatar, Turkey, and Israel are participating in the 3rd day of Gaza ceasefire talks in Sharm el-Sheikh. The discussions, mediated by Qatar, Egypt, and Turkey, aim to achieve a phased ceasefire, including the release of hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, amid continued disagreement over permanent governance and troop withdrawal. Hamas officials have expressed cautious optimism, noting that mediators are working to remove obstacles and achieve a phased ceasefire. U.S. President Donald Trump is actively pushing a 20-point peace plan, which calls for the release of hostages and a complete Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Turkey's President Erdogan has been asked to persuade Hamas to support the plan, while Qatar continues to facilitate negotiations. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres described the talks as a historic opportunity to bring this tragic conflict to an end. Israel's military campaign has killed over 67,000 people in Gaza, with more than half of the victims reported to be women and children, according to figures deemed credible by the United Nations. The devastation continues even as the world watches closely, hoping for a ceasefire that could save countless lives.